Welcome back to the combat segment of this tutorial. Here we have the blue player's turn, and we want to consider having combat. And why I'm talking about combat here in the moving phase is because in this game, in order to have combat, you have to be next to a unit. But if you are next to a unit, you are required to have combat. So before you actually commit to having combat, you are making a move and moving next to a unit. If you don't want to have combat, you should not move next to them. Looking at the situation, the artillery is lagging behind. They will catch up this turn, but they will not be able to hit any of these targets. So instead of attacking with the blue player's forces without artillery, we're going to set up in this line right here and prepare for the red player's onslaught. We also are going to move this cavalry to our flanks so they're not in the middle part where the strongest part of the line is going to be, because they're weak, as you see, the twos. So we're going to move into this line, and I'm going to do this sort of quickly, and we're going to fast forward to it. So here we go. So what I just did here is I moved everyone forward. I put our strongest units here, sort of in the middle, and the other strong units down there. I kept the cavalry down here as an angle. What they're really trying to do is they're not trying to be strong or protect. They're to prevent their cavalry from going around our forces and getting them from behind. If you surround a unit and force it to retreat, it's the same as eliminating it. So, now we're going to go to the next phase and let the red player come and attack us. So here we can see we could move the artillery into this line here, and it has a range of 2, so we can start hitting blue units. We do not have to attack. The impetus is not on us because we actually hold the red tree, so we could sit back. But that would defeat the purpose of this tutorial, so we're going to go ahead and be aggressive. Their 2 best units are right here, so we're going to attack the lesser units, this 5-4 and this 6-4 perhaps. So we're going to move our 2 7s down to here and to here, and then move our 6 and our 5 here. Then I'm going to move the artillery so we can bombard over our other units and then attack them. And then we're going to go like this, there. And then we'll go like this. So, let's hit next phase. Here we can see, let's zoom this in so it's a little easier to see, so we have the full screen. So, all the units that have a border around them, has this dotted border around them, those are required attacks or defenses. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units that need to be attacked, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units that have to attack. We also have 3 units that we can optionally use for attacks. All these units that are darker colored are here are not allowed to be used in this phase because they are not adjacent to someone, nor is someone within their range. Artillery has a range of 2. So let's start to explore the possibilities. Let's look at this attack here with this infantry first. So to start an attack, you click on the defending unit. The CRT will appear. It has no columns lit at the moment because there is no attackers. We'll add an attacker here. Note it says 1-to-1 above there, and it says 1-to-1 here. And if we look here, the attack has strength of 7 and a defense of 5. Remember, the left number is the combat factor. So 7 divided by 5 is 1.4, and that goes down to 1-to-1 because that's the lowest number underneath the digits, the rounded thing. So you can also hit details if you wish. It doesn't say much right now because there's not a lot of extra information, but we will add a second unit and see if that happens. Here we can see there's an artillery unit within range. So we can click on it to add it to the attack. And that should then be 14 divided by 5, which should be a 2-to-1, you would think, because it's not quite 3-to-1. But it is 3-to-1. If you look here, it says 3-to-1. This column is 3-to-1. And its details is now indicating that there's a combined arms shift, +1 for infantry and artillery. You also get a combined arms shift for infantry and cavalry, or artillery and cavalry. And you get a 2-column shift if you have all 3 participating in combat. We can't show that this turn, but it's very fun when you get that. Okay, so we like that attack. That's a 3-to-1. We can look here, and the effects are either the defender is eliminated, or they have to retreat, or there's an exchange. In exchanges, you destroy the defending unit and remove enough attacking units to be equal in combat strength to the defender lost. Sometimes, if your weak unit is defending against a very strong and only one unit in this attacker, you don't want to do an exchange, because then the defender will lost a 2 and maybe the attacker lost a 7, and that's not very nice. But if you have units that are close to the same size of the unit, just over but not under, it makes for a better attack. So we're going to continue on and add another unit to this attack. Now you can see this is a 5-to-1. That's pretty good. It's all DEs and maybe 2 EXs. And we have a 6, and we could lose a 6 for the 5, and that's not the best, but it's not the worst. Okay, now we're going to do another attack. Here we have 2 cavalry units facing each other. I will select the defender, select the only possible attacker. The attack is 1-to-1. 1-to-1's fairly benign. You either push them back or they push you back. There's no blood loss, unless one of the units is surrounded. If a unit is forced to retreat while surrounded, it may not retreat and is instead eliminated. So be aware of that. Here's the next attack. So we have a defending cavalry here. We would not probably want to get an exchange with this thing. But you'll notice this is green. And up here it says in very small letters, cavalry combat table. And if you look at a 3-to-1, it's all DRs. There's no blood. In fact, there's no defender eliminated or exchange anywhere on the cavalry combat table. This is because an infantry unit, which is men on foot, is attacking a cavalry unit, which is people on horses. And people on horses, when being attacked by men on feet, can pretty much laugh and run away. So they may be forced to retreat, but they're not going to get caught or killed. Unless, of course, they're surrounded, in which case this is a good idea to do. This is actually good for the defender also, because the attacker also, because they won't be risking a 7 to a 2. If you were to look at the other tables here, this is the normal combat reception table. There's an EX. So if you did get this and you got an EX, the defender would lose the 2, but you would lose a 7, and that's 5 points of wasted killing power. So we're going to go back to this. Next, we still have 2 units that need to be attacked. We can do this and then attack with a 1-to-2. We do risk an AE with that, so we will probably want to add an artillery unit to make it better. This actually is kind of like cheating death here, because if you did get an exchange, they would lose a 7 and you could only lose a 5. And let me explain that. The artillery unit is what we call bombarding, so it's shooting at units that are not adjacent to them. When an artillery unit bombards a hex, it cannot suffer any ill effects from the bombardment. So you could attack something and get a really bad result, like an attacker eliminated or attacker retreat. Artillery units that are bombarding, shooting at a greater than 1 hex range, are never affected by that. So this is a good way to do what we call soak-offs. You can take attacks that won't get any results, but they won't be risky because you can't lose any units because you're bombarding with artillery. Finally, there's one last unit here. We can't hit this with anybody here, but we could hit him with this person. This, however, has an adverse effect on this attack, but we can then put this unit back in there to get the triple, the good 5-to-1 attack because of the units. Here is another part of the game we can talk about. Here we have, you can see clearly what all the attacks are. You can change a unit that's attacking one unit and make him attack another unit simply by selecting the new defender, then clicking on that unit. This way you can also easily say, do I want to have a 3-to-1 and a 2 3-to-1s? Or would I want to have a 1-to-1 and a 5-to-1? These are the decisions you make as a tactician that actually affect your performance in the game and may be the difference between winning and losing. So this is why having these numbers here like that and having them color-coded is a good thing to do. One more thing we can do here. There is a thing called a determined attack. So this is the current defender, and the current combat is these 3 units here. We can hit the D key here or this D button and make it go to a determined attack. The red color means that it's a determined attack. It says here determined combat table. A determined attack is basically you want to kill the unit and you don't want to just take its hex. So you usually have one extra EX from the combat table for that column. And this is when you really want to kill units instead of just pushing them away. Say it's near the end of the game, you need to kill so many units and you want to get a kill instead of and you don't mind losing in an EX. So you can make the determined attack. If we hit the D key again, it will make it go back to a regular combat. Turns out in 5-to-1 there is no difference between a determined attack and a regular attack. This is the normal combat results table. But if we were to hit the 2-to-1, for example, there's one chance of an EX. If we hit the D key, there are 2 chances of an EX. See how that works? Actually, so use the determined attack cautiously. One more thing. In the case where infantry is attacking cavalry and they can basically retreat before combat, there is no possibility of a determined attack. You see, I try to hit the D key and it does not allow me to do anything about that. So I think we're ready to go to the next phase. I will see you in the next tutorial, segment of this tutorial, combat resolution. Thank you very much.